Hey guys, I'm Davey Wavey, creator of the gay erotic website Himeros.tv, and today I'm joined by sex and intimacy coach Finn Dearhart and spiritual lifestyle curator Leo Rising Scott. And today we're continuing our conversation about race, racism, and porn, and talking about this week's video titled Through the Glass. So let's get started. Himeros Live is brought to you by Himeros.tv. In honor of Pride Month, we are offering 2 years of Himeros.tv for the price of one. It comes out to less than $8 per month, and this isn't a recurring option, so you don't need to worry about it automatically renewing on your credit card. You just make one payment. So make sure you use the very special link, himeros.tv/celebrate, and click on join now. That's HIMEROS.tv/celebrate. Himeros.tv, it's like porn, but better. We're bringing back the tagline. It's like porn, but better.
Was it gone?
I think for a few weeks it was. Yeah. I just forgot to speak it. So she's back. Hey guys, welcome. Great to see you both.
I didn't know.
How are you guys doing? Yeah, it's like porn, but better. There's a few others. What else do we say? The best gay sex of your life.
Grass-fed porn.
Grass-fed porn.
I love that one.
Grass-fed porn?
Grass-fed. You know, like when you go to Whole Foods and you buy, like, you want to buy humanely raised meat, like as a conscious consumer, you want to consume humanely produced porn content. It's a little abstract, but I think Finn would be like our target demographic for that.
I'm like, oh my god, I'm sold.
Organic porn. Oh, it's organic.
It's organic.
Sustainable. Anyway, great to see you guys.
Hi.
Yes.
We have a lot to get to today. I promise I will be better at keeping time. I will be quick with the updates. I just have a few. There's a new video on YouTube. It's an interview with porn star Calvin Banks. You can check that out. It's about his big old penis that they turned into a dildo. Can you imagine that?
Is that the one in the video?
I'm shocked. I'm stunned. What, they did what?
Yeah, it's not. So the dildo in today's video is not Calvin Banks, but I would say it's of a similar size. And like, there's a confidence that man has about his penis that like it's, yeah. I mean, they made a dildo out of it. Like, you know, it's a work of art. I won't tell him that to his face, but it's quite nice.
That the dildo is a work of art, or his actual penis?
Well, I guess literally the dildo is, because the penis is just his penis.
He would say Gucci. Gucci.
Yeah. Here's the best part: at the top of the base of the penis, it has his signature.
Oh, that's like Donald Trump's signature on the stimulus check.
It's the exact same thing.
Ooh, So not ooh for Mr. Banks' penis, but ooh for the.
I mean, my brain just did what it did. I just went.
Yeah. So, but can you? What I immediately go to is the idea of fucking myself with my own penis. That's where I take it.
That sounds really holistic.
Yeah.
It'd be like a really nice, like, healing kind of ceremonial thing to do.
Yeah, because who hasn't wondered, like, oh, what would it feel like if I fucked myself?
Totally. I have actually had my dick cast before in plaster, but then it got lost. Like, the guy that did it, like, he passed away, and the plaster was in storage in New Orleans, and then I don't know what happened to it after that. His ex-boyfriend had it, so there's like this like cast of my dick out there somewhere. I don't know.
You have an enchanted, like,
someone somewhere has,
but it's in New Orleans.
At least when it was like 8 years ago. I don't know. These things travel.
Being like your phallus is being worshipped in New Orleans. It's amazing.
Yeah. There's a thing called the Clone a Willy kit, which here I am talking about being good about time. And anyway, there's this thing called the Clone a Willy kit, and you can, for like $40, buy this and cast your own dick. But it's actually very stressful. I've tried it twice, and I wouldn't recommend it because you have to. It's very exact what the formula is. There's temperatures. There's like exact measuring, 2 minutes, and then you have to plunge your like rock hard dick into this like plaster for like 2 minutes, and you're so stressed about like the right temperature and everything, and then you're like trying to keep hard at the same time, and it's just not a good situation. It never works.
Well,
yeah,
it just sounds like you need support. Like it sounds like you need support.
Yeah, I don't have any. So. Anyway, for updates, that's a YouTube video. It's out there. We also really haven't chatted too much about this, but we've been filming. We did a couple videos last week. We're kind of navigating best health practices, COVID testing, STD testing, staying true to the Himeros TV vision, being adaptive. And our next big shoot is the end of July. So hopefully we can start to get back into that formula. But we've been filming some smaller projects in the meantime. And the one we did last week, I posted a picture on Instagram of 2 boys kissing. And it's a video featuring twinks. And I feel like we don't really have like a lot of Twinkie content.
On your site?
Yeah, do you think there's a lot?
I just saw 2 sets of raised brows.
Oh, really?
I think it's a little Twinkie. I think Himeros is very, very Twinkie.
Okay. Well, define like would like a 28-year-old be a twink in your book?
Oh, this is a slippery slope, isn't it?
Yeah, because I think of Twinkie as like 21, like 18 to 21.
Oh, so I don't do twink by the age.
Okay.
I do it by the aesthetic and the desire to fit into that group. I think of it as Dungeons and Dragons, right? And it's like, I from observation, I would say the average Himeros model is around 5'8", 5'9", and their measurements are closer to soccer player, really fast lacrosse player, not really in that bulk.
Yeah,
huge dude thing. Like the video that we'll review later today, I was like, oh, this is refreshing. Like
it's not
the last time I saw men with their mass and their aesthetic, it was that kink video, which was a twink learning kink with like a kink daddy.
I love that. Twink learning kink.
I didn't see that one coming at all. Davey's like, review the content, see if you want to like be a part of this, and I was like, oh god,
I don't even know what video this is that you're talking about. Do you know Finn?
No, but I'm intrigued.
It's a kink lesson. I think it's a kink lesson.
Okay. Yeah, I don't doubt it. We filmed so many hundreds of videos at this point. So the one we did with these twinks was, and I say twinks not as like a negative thing. Like I think it's like a cupcake or like
chiclets. Yeah, like little.
It's like endearing. So it was a tribute to 80s gym porn. So like we've all seen the cheesy like working out and the dick pops out of the gym shorts. So and we totally had that exact same setup. And instead of the sex being really cheesy though, the idea was to have really authentic sex. And one of the things that I struggle with as a producer, and I'm sure Finn, having been on a number of our shoots, also realizes this, is that like I just want to have this one strategy to like help everyone feel connected and safe. And the reality is like there isn't, and you have to talk to each person differently, and each person is going to require different things. And especially with like younger models, Finn would very nicely say, oh, they're just young pups finding their way, which is true. But like sometimes they need a little bit more coaching, and there's a little bit more awkwardness. Whereas it's like an older guy that's on his sexual journey, you'd be like, okay, have some authentic sex with your partner, have fun, we'll film it, and they can kind of like find their own pace. But when you're, and I don't want to generalize that everyone that's young has this, but like when you're younger, it's a little bit, you know, like, well, what is he going to think? Or I don't know if I want to ask for what I want in sex. Maybe I don't know what I want. Even if I do know what I want, I was this way when I was 20. I didn't know what I wanted. And if I did, I had too much like shame to express it anyway. Or be like, well, what is he going to think if I say something that he doesn't want? So I'm just going to say nothing at all. So it's interesting kind of finding the strategies and the techniques to make sure we get, a authentic and connected experience from the models. And I think we did. I think it was a really cool video. So that will be coming out sometime in the future. And we'll film a few more videos next week out near Lake Joshua Tree. And I was reading this article in the New York Times about how the adult industry is basically setting the standards for safer film productions, especially because like we're used to just testing people and like navigating health issues like HIV and STDs. And so like we already have this formula and we're like, oh, okay, great. Like we'll fold COVID into that. We'll test people for that. And we're kind of like setting the path forward for like Netflix shows and movies. And anyway, we're on the edge. So
but that's the business, right? Edging.
That's a whole yeah. Yeah.
That was a bad joke. It didn't land.
It didn't land.
It didn't land.
Yeah. Someone out there was like, "Oh my God, edging!" They did. I know it.
Yeah.
I tried, y'all. I tried.
Yeah. If you ever try to talk about edging with like straight cisgender women, like it's so funny. It's like a very uniquely male experience. I was listening to a comedian talking about it actually today on YouTube, and she was like she's like so excited if her partner is even able to like get her to the point of orgasm. She's like, the idea that I would suddenly like not experience it, like, oh no. Like, honey, I'm going over the edge. All right. So those are my updates. Does anyone have any quick updates to mention, or should we jump into it?
I have no updates that are noteworthy.
Okay.
I don't think. I got a new bed.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's really pretty.
I didn't see it. Is this in like a group text that I didn't get?
It wasn't a group text. The group of me and Davey, which we are arguably many of us.
Yeah.
I'll send it to you.
I want to see your bed. I just want to celebrate you. That's all.
It's reclaimed wood. It's like really artisanal. Is that the word? Artisan?
Yeah. There's a guy in Canada that makes them. So his name's Opposite Hand Design. He's really good.
Has your dog warmed up to it? Because I know your dog was a little frightened.
She is a little better, but she still walks by it like and makes a huge wide swath across the room. Like it's scary to her, and I don't know what that is.
Yeah,
she's
maybe it smells funny to her.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told Finn the reclaimed wood is like from the tops of coffins, and the dog senses it.
Did we? That we'll talk about that in the group. I can look at that for y'all if you want me to.
Yes, read my bed.
I will read the bed.
Yeah. Cool. Leo Rising, any updates? Anything to share?
Just gratitude. Yeah. Resting more. Lots of resting, showing up for Black women in corporate environments, and just navigating diversity and inclusive conversation. Lots of trainings are popping up. They're popping up too fast. So it's really just that. It's milling and teething through that and holding space for Black women at the moment.
I think this is a great segue into our conversation, because you had mentioned that people are getting like fatigue around. Oh,
I was specific. Which people, Davey?
I believe they were white people.
They're getting fatigued?
White people are getting fatigued because they didn't read the book you read, Finn. They're not doing the work. So they're getting tired. Look at Finn's face. All of y'all go to YouTube so you can see Finn's not having it. Finn was like, "Oh, you're tired?"
And like, it's also a very predictable moment, because it's like if you're running a marathon, you don't start that marathon with a sprint. And when there was this initial kind of flurry of attention, it was always going to be like unsustainable to keep that level forever, and it was like, I think we were joking about this before we started filming. It's like, oh, but like I posted a black square on Instagram 2 weeks ago. Like is this still happening? Like, is racism not solved?
Right.
And like the reality is like, oh no, this is a lifetime of work. So like pace yourself. And I think that's probably what some of what is coming up, right?
Well, I think what's missing in the conversation, or at least when someone who is on the journey of navigating more inclusive space, whether they're governing it or they're showing up to the training, or if they're doing the work by themselves, reading, what's Robin's last name, Finn?
D'Angelo?
Robin DiAngelo's White Fragility, or Layla Saad's Me and White Supremacy, which actually is a workbook. So you work through it. The issue is that both of those books, somewhere inside of it, say like pace yourself in their own language. They're like, this is something that you're deprogramming from your history. It's not something you have to rush to begin to meme. What's happening a lot, sadly, on social media is people that are trained coaches are so accustomed to grabbing information and re-PowerPoint setting it up that they're not sitting with it. And so their audience takes it, they're still relevant, but then you go through the comment sections and you learn who the person is. And you learn that they aren't ready for this level of conversation. And you learn that they're then, in a very awkward way, reportaling the here's who will fix it to the Black women that have been leading, the Black women in Black femme. So it's just like every other civil rights movement in the history of America. This is being forefronted by queer femmes and Black women everywhere. Like Black Lives Matter is founded by, I think, 2 queer Black women, and then a cis, maybe heterosexual Black woman. It's like, that's who founded it. So we're dealing with history repeating itself and people just not pacing themselves in the present, because we're all coming from the traumas and the conditioning of what systemic oppression has allotted us. Like all of my education, all of my everything academic about me, anything articulate about me comes from the rebel that lives inside, but the education was white. And anything that I know outside of that was due to my experience and me being like, why am I being treated this way? Let me go ask my uncle, who joined the Navy as early as he can. He did not have to. He could have played in the NFL like his brother. He did not want to. He was very upset with white people. So he went to the military, but whatever. The point is, like, he sought freedom in a way, what he thought would be some sort of freedom travel. And now we're all home, you know? And so free thought and dismantling comfortable thoughts, it's hard on people. Most Black people don't really want to hear that you're tired.
Right.
When we look at our parents or we look at our elders and we're like, you're tired. Or we look at we look at all the dead people and all the unanswered cases. Like, it's like, please don't tell me you're tired. But I think we're coming to a place where the silent aspect is shifting. So it's back to a place of accepting that people are going to take their time, because the idea is by now, just do your work and come back better. I had said earlier, like, don't come to me broken. And I meant that from my experience. Like, hey, white friends, don't come to me broken. Come to me with some work in you so you know how to approach me so I feel safe. And so I hope that that's how people spend the rest of their summer, figuring that out.
Yeah. And it means not just like reposting quotes on Instagram, though that can be part of it. It's also doing things, making changes. And I mean, it's part of why we're having this conversation on Himeros, because and Leo Rising, you've looked at some of our content, and some of it you enjoyed, and then there's some things that are missing. And we've started to talk a little bit about our blind spots in our content, and you know, in terms of like representation of age, race, body types, you noted that some of the positions of power, career, and partnership come from only one viewpoint, which is namely that our crew has largely been white gay men. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
His eyes.
Well, Yeah, when Davey asked me to like look at that, I was like, oh great. And then I was also like, oh, let me address my fifth chakra. So something that was clear for me is the cinematography is absolutely stunning, but sometimes the direction perpetuates a narrative that when a person of color, predominantly black, ventures into an interracial relationship, sometimes it's looking at safety and um, being like the boy to the white partner. And that's just something that exists. And it's then you take in the aesthetics and you take in the narrative. That's why I really love the Journey series, because it really gave dialogue. And in the dialogue, I got to see how it was scripted. And what I saw was this is a trope that exists and it's very common. So it's not to hurt anyone's feelings because I've been in that relationship, but it's like it's so common that I knew that searching for that type of interracial relationship was conditioned into me. It wasn't an opportunity of like, I naturally am attracted to this. It's like, this is what I see. So this is all I know.
Right.
And so after enjoying the scripted aspects of that series so much, then watching it again and enjoying what I enjoyed, know what I mean? And then borrowing that lens and saying, okay, well, let's watch everything, understanding that this is a part of what's comfortable for this company to tell a story.
And can we identify what that trope
Yeah.
was?
Yeah. So the trope is that black, queer, gay, bisexual men, when they enter into white gay relationships, there is an unspoken imbalance of power and distribution of power. And so what that means is I'm going to butcher his name at the moment, but the main black actor in The Journey season 2 has to go through a relationship analysis where he understands his partner's open, and yes, they play together, but it's always under the guise that it makes his white partner happy or his white passing partner happy, because that actor is actually not all white. I think he's half Arabic.
Yeah,
but he's white passing, and so in a narrative piece, if we want him to be white passing Mediterranean or Jewish, he can just be that and it's done. You know what I mean? And so taking that in and just watching that, there's the mistrust that black males in gay culture, specifically because we're in Pride Month, already feel second and third and fourth over when it comes to pickings. It's like, who's going to be attracted to you? It's like the person who's attracted to you usually has a fetish for black. Ding dong dong ding. Like they're like, I want it today. Just watching that occur and then trying to let that dissolve, but also let it come in naturally.
So it's like it's the jealous black boyfriend and then the more sexually evolved like white
sexually evolved white partner who literally
Right.
can go to the sex club and have whatever he wants when he wants it. And there's a whole scene where he does that.
Yeah.
And that didn't come up in words in their therapy session. So the couple goes through therapy. They go to couples therapy. It doesn't come up, but it comes up contextually in act. But the final words of this black man is informed by, he is existing in a world where that's not happening. That's not okay. Most gay men who come out are coming from homes where the impression is not only heterosexual, but monogamous. It's closed, locked. You can't have what I have. Then you go into a queer world where it's a little more open, and he's like the blossoming of discovery he had was quite beautiful, but I was like, oof, if this was an hour longer, the pain. I was like, the space for pain.
Yeah. And when you mentioned that to me, I was like, I didn't even realize that was a trope. And it was like, oh, but if I had a black cinematographer or black director that was working on that project, they probably would have and would have said, hey, like, let's do this a little bit differently. And so, I mean, that speaks to your point of having crew that is more representative. So we're not just telling the story through one lens.
The thing that I'm confused about, though, what you just said, Leo Rising, is I would not think of Adam Ramsey's character as evolved because he was cheating on
Did we say evolved?
Yeah.
I said evolved. Yeah, that was my word. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to say, like, I kind of found him, what's the word, smarmy. It was like
he was definitely the one that was like more open, like more sexually
Yeah.
open.
Thank you for amending that and bringing that to the surface, because that's important too. I want to hit back on the note of, and this is, this is my experience, but it's also a narrative on Jerry Springer throughout the 90s into the early 2000s, is the Black community has a really strong relationship to monogamy. Or so it's been. And Finn, I would love to use this later to the Christianity question that you emailed.
Okay.
So they have a really strong relationship to monogamy, whether it's male, male, female, female, like it's like locked in. However, there is in social structures, once they break out of those households, they break out of that. I don't want to call it a shortcoming, because I was team monogamy for a good 20 years, like tight, like annoyingly tight. So it wasn't a shortcoming. However, it does restrict you in being able to have conversation with your partner and being able to have an emotional swing to understand that you can get healthy experiences that are human from other people without it being immediately sexual. And so, to Finn's point of Adam Ramsey's character being swarmy at moments when like they healed and then he had to compulsively cheat, like he had to do the thing. It was white privilege, because it was a matter of when you first try to enter gay spaces from a closed off Black American experience, you're entering a space and then everyone's just going at it, and no one explains to you why it's okay. And so if you're not naturally just carnal and ready to do it, you're genuinely combating a lot of conditioning and a lot of fear, because you're like, I want the love of my life, I want this Disney thing. And that's just a lens that I've come from, and a lot of my close friends have come from, but it doesn't mean that now in my new decade, that's the same lens I have. Yeah.
I want to like build on what you're saying about having like more representation in our crew.
Oh, let's do it.
Because something that feels like a glaring blind spot for me is how having a largely white crew impacts models of color and Black models that we work with. And I think the reason why this is especially important in the content that we create on Himeros is because we're asking people to come from a place of authenticity. And we ask our models to be real and vulnerable. And one can only feel vulnerable if one can be safe. You know, like someone's only going to be willing to take it to that place if they feel safe. And if you're a model who's Black and you show up to film a scene in an industry where Black bodies in particular are commodified and fetishized, and you walk into this room, you don't know what the intentions are of this largely white crew. And like, aren't you going to have pause? Like, aren't you going to look around and be like, all right, like I'm going to have a more difficult time settling into this if I don't see people that look like me that are going to be telling my story. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah, because you've probably encountered quite a few white people that have very little interest in anything beyond your cock. And so it like that feels like if we're going to keep doing what we do and ask people to be authentic and vulnerable, then like our crew needs to reflect the models. So anyway, that's something that definitely comes up.
I totally agree.
I like that awareness is coming up for you.
Yeah. You also had mentioned that in a lot of our content, if there's a Black model, it's always an interracial scene, that there's not, it's not like two Black guys together. It'll be a Black guy with a white guy or a Black guy with a Latino guy. And the reason we've done that in the past when we do a shoot is we'll have 4 or 5 models come to the shoot for a couple days. And I do have an eye towards representation. So I'm like, all right, like we want to have this group be representative. So there's 4 guys. Let's make sure that like 2 of those guys are of color. One of them's Black, maybe one's Latino or Asian. And even though that formula reflects the general representation of the population, or is maybe even a little bit more generously reflecting, if 25% of our models that we film with are Black, the issue becomes their scene partner is never going to be another Black person. So that's something that I can, although well-intentioned, I can recognize as problematic. And so moving forward, I mean, we're lucky that Himeros TV is growing and we can invite more models to projects. And so we can create situations where you're not the only Black model on set, that, you know, that you have the opportunity to actually, one of the models we recently worked with, he said, I'm sick of being the only Black model when I'm filming. And he's saying this to us, and I'm looking around and he's the only Black model like on our set. Like, he's speaking what he's experiencing right now. So we're going to do a better job moving forward at creating content featuring Black models and models of color in general, so that it's not just interracial scenes.
Yeah, I mean, because in real life, if we were at a party, there's going to be a couple that's two Korean men that have, you know, there's going to be a couple that are, they're two, like a Jamaican and an African American male. Like that's where it gets tropey. And you didn't do this. You're just a part of moving through the business, identifying what works, and it's such a quiet conditioning that it's like, the history of film and the history of porn is a white male has picked and approved something and says, this is what I'll allow in for this. And so the models of color, I can only speak for specifically Black models. It's, we do have that thought because it exists for us in every field of work. Whether it be commercials, porn, modeling, simple as yoga, like it exists that way. And it's like, oh no, we have like two of them, but they're never on staff of the team. And then the other thing is like, no one ever thinks to put them together. And then if they do, it's like this quest of animosity because you have groups of people that aren't, you have these two people that are from the same group that are not used to being together at the same time. And they're afraid that they're being sized up instead of encouraged to be together and grow together and expand and have that vulnerability and intimacy that actually is in every Himeros scene. It's like it's the other side of raw. Like there's like the raw doggy energy, and then there's like, this is very sweet heart related stuff sometimes. And I would love to know what that looks like from BIPOC gaze, like a director that's BIPOC and the models that are. And I'd like to actually see I would personally like to see some transgender people represented, because you advertise that you're bisexual as well. And I'm not seeing that. Like, I'm like, interesting.
Yeah.
I haven't, you know, I was like scrolling, looking, and I was like, I'll see you.
Yeah, we haven't, not yet, but it's something also that we're working on. Yeah.
And isn't Himeros the deity a intersex deity?
That's a good question.
Or is that
the son of
Hermaphrodites? Yeah. There's Hermaphrodites, which is the son of Eros and Aphrodite, but Himeros is like another child of them.
It's the Greek god of desire, but I don't know what the
Hermaphrodite is a amalgamation of Aphrodite and Hermes.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm gonna send an extra invoice for that one.
You please do. We have some really great questions this week, so let's chat a little bit about the video, and then we can kind of circle back to some of this conversation. This week's video is titled "Through the Glass," and it features Charlie Harding and Tony Zucchero. And you can watch a free preview on Himeros.tv. Basically, the scene unfolds with Tony and Charlie on the opposite sides of giant glass windows. It's actually filmed in my sunroom, and they kiss each other, but like there's this big glass barrier between them. It's very COVID 2020, which is when we filmed this. So one guy's on one side, one guy's on the other side, and they never actually make contact. So there's lots of kissing and sucking. One guy at one point even sticks a dildo to the glass and he fucks himself with it. This video makes me cry for some reason.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's beautifully shot.
Mm-hmm.
It's because, and
Let's say it.
I don't know about you, but I want to cry during porn. So that's what I want during my porn.
That's your
It's a canvas. I think this video is a canvas, and it like onto this canvas, I project my feelings, and you can tell that these guys are real life lovers. Like they, especially at the end when they say goodbye, there's this like really sweet, like tender moment.
Mm.
And it's just it makes me cry because it's very relatable during quarantine. Like I know everyone is trying to make decisions, like balance the risk they're willing to take, like exploring pleasure in different ways, FaceTiming, Zooming, glory holes, whatever. It's just our experience.
Wait, can we go back to Zooming glory holes?
Oh, Zooming and Zoom meetings and glory holes.
Got it. Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah. I know. I thought that too. Like, what?
Zooming in the glory holes. Yeah. So, and I lost my train of thought. So, yeah, it's just our experience of sex and connection it's changed over these last 3 or 4 months or however long this thing has been going on. And sometimes I just miss how differently we navigated sex like 5 months ago. And when you see this, it's beautiful and it's sexy and it's still it has all the heat that you would in like a typical encounter. But it just reminds me of how things are different, but it also still gives me hope that, I don't know, it makes me grieve what was, but then hopeful for what is available and what's coming. Did this video make you guys feel anything?
Yeah, I love this video. I had also like a creative interaction with it. Like you want, like, you know, in math, there's like the asymptote. If you like approach the axis and like it divides in half again and again, I'll never get there, which blew my mind when I was studying that in high school. But this idea of like always wanting to get to the lover, like wholly, and like it's a motivating force to find like this oneness, and how it's like there's still another person, there's still another individual, and seeing that like just in the just thought it was really beautiful too. I was really moved by this one. I love their bodies. That's the thing. I was so like, oh thank God it's not like the same bodies. Like I felt that like, like a relief. Like myself, I have this like, I want to see more body types. I've been more curious around that myself, just in my own desire, because it's like, not that the guys that are like typically known as hot, quote unquote, are not pretty, but it's just this idea of like, they're also stepping into an identity. And I think I'm tired of the identity, not their body, you know, it's the role that they're playing. So seeing these guys step into the role of that desire space and really be in it, and like, it was really relieving to me. And I found them very sexy. I loved how they were interacting with each other.
And what was different about their bodies? Because for people that are just listening and having,
like, they weren't like, they didn't have 6-pack abs and like mega dicks. They were average men, or like kind of bulky bodies. One of them was muscly, but they had like soft bellies and average cocks. And
were they average?
They were bigger than average, but they weren't like porn dicks. They weren't porn dicks, right? Like
okay, they were like what's his name? Crank Blank. Who was the first dick that we talked about? What was his name?
Crank Blank, yeah, right.
Yeah. Himeros.tv.
Oh my God. Coming at you. Crank Blank.
I was side note, I was talking to someone on Grindr today, and he was saying something about his penis, and I was like, well, how big is it? And he was like, I don't know, I've never measured. And I was like, how have you never measured? Like,
I've never measured.
Come on.
I've never measured.
That's so interesting to me, because it's almost like if there's any part of my body that I'm going to put a ruler to,
it's your penis. Yeah.
It's my dick.
I haven't measured my curtains. I've literally just looked at it and said, I think
your curtains. He's like, I just have an eye for it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and also not that those numbers mean anything, because I think people look at the ruler and then they're like, okay, now I'm going to round up to the nearest 2 inches.
And they push the ruler in so hard that it hurts the pelvic bone.
No, you did.
I mean, I used to do this when I was younger, and like in high school, I was religiously measuring my cock. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Does it change from like moment to moment?
No, I mean, I think it's just like all the body issues I've had. It's just like obsession around image and body and what I took on as a kid. And
But the cock doesn't change. Like your biceps can get bigger or smaller. Like
no, but like, well, yeah, but
you only need to measure it once.
You've only done it once. Is that what you're telling me? You've only done it once.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It hasn't changed. Anyway, Leo Rising, did you feel anything from this video? What did you feel?
I loved their bodies. I loved how cozy they looked. I appreciated they did like tantric eye gazing through those mirrors. Like it was just out of this world how they could see each other and what they would desire. Like they were like sending telepathic visions to one another. I actually was not stimulated below my belly button. I just watched like I was watching an IFC film. Like I felt really I just felt like this needs to be in French. And then I was like, this is like an award. I was like, this could like be a short film if you just kind of like, I was like, I'd keep the dildo blowjob moment, but maybe not like the butt. But I was like, you could chop that into a short and like submit it. Like it was really strong in that way. And I felt like it answered a craving for touch that I had like 2 weeks ago. Like 2 weeks ago, there are people that I was just like ready to risk it all for. And like, you're coming, I need a hug. But if this had been released, I probably would have been like, I'm fine, I don't need a hug.
Or I can get that connection in a different way.
So to clarify, y'all, because I speak very much like an air sign. The connection can be obtained in other means. You can speak, you can just be quiet in space with someone, or you can explore your own touch. It was a video of practicing your own touch. So they weren't like masturbating as much as they were just activating their relationship to sensual touch. And it just happened that they were lucky enough to be able to focus it across someone who existed on the same place, not just through what are those random apps people use? There's like that app that just gives you like a random person.
Chat roulette or something.
Yeah, I mean, that's really bad because you don't know who you're gonna get, but like, but this was not chat roulette. Like this could have also been a daydream. It could have been someone just pleasing themselves, thinking of a past lover. Yeah. I also really liked their grit. They were sensitive grit dudes.
Well, yeah, and when you look at them, you're like, oh, they're like super tatted. They look like these, what we might generalize as like a really tough guy, and they were so sweet,
tender, yeah.
So like Burbank illustrators to me.
Burbank, yeah, like lots of tattoos and and what they showed each other was really the sweet softness, and they're lovers in real life. Which I think like it's why this worked, like they weren't staring into the eyes of a stranger, which you could do. Like these guys weren't. And I think that's why, and I knew that too. So when I was watching it, I was like, oh, they like actually care about each other and this is real.
That's sweet.
So yeah. They both said this after we filmed was that, and I watching, I'm like, oh yeah, that is hot. This barrier of the glass, like it's kind of like having like a chastity belt or using like restraints. It's this idea of denial. I know Finn, I think in one of our videos, either it's a voiceover or maybe it's in the description, you said something like, sometimes the only thing hotter than getting what you want is not getting what you want. And sounds so like this, yeah, I think you said it. So it's a single pane window. And so there's maybe like a 1/4 inch separating your mouth from that dick. Like you're so close.
Yeah.
Like your mouth is just watering. And
did you wipe the glass yourself or did someone else in the crew wipe the glass before he licked it?
Oh, I didn't think about that. No, I wiped it. Yeah, I washed the windows really thoroughly.
Really hot, but also does it taste like Windex?
Yeah, no, it didn't taste like Windex. I did initially Windex it and then just washed it with water. And we also had to keep washing it in between takes because like they were getting slobber all over it, and so the glass was then no longer like transparent. You couldn't see through it. Yeah.
How many takes was that?
Well, there's a few moments where they had to like stop and reset, like change the lens and the camera, that kind of stuff. But yeah, but so this idea though of like not getting what you want, I think it just makes you like hungrier and hungrier, and like there's just this buildup. And since that they never actually do touch, there's never this release of it. So it's just this like, it's like a Mount St. Helens, just like building up, building up, building up, and leaving you wanting more, I think.
I think it represents a really awesome tantric principle too, because of that, you know, like the wanting, I mean, that is the wanting is more than the having, because the experience of desire is more than just like, you know, stuffing your face. And I've heard this analogy that it's like you shooting your arrow at a target, and instead of it, you're like trying to hit the target, you want to shoot past the target so that you have like the experience of flight, and that's what it is. And so I think that it illustrates that too. Could
you say that again?
Yeah, it's not mine though. It's Victor Bliss and Nathan James. They're philosophers that wrote the book called like the Man Tantra Letters. But yeah, it's like you shoot an arrow and you're drawing the potential with your bow. And that's like the man's individual capacity to hold tension. So he's holding it and holding it and holding the bow. And then when he lets go of the arrow, it's not to shoot the target, it's to actually miss the target and to keep flying. And you use the man that you're wanting to objectify as like this access point to a deeper experience of like of desire and freedom and movement. I love it.
I just fell in love with it.
It's called the Man Tantra Letters. I love it. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's like so smart.
Well, thank you. But it's like this idea of like, you know, Esther Perel says too, you know, the wanting is more fun than the having, because once we have it, then we start the desire chain again. It's like, well, now I want something else.
Especially in this society where it's like where people are swiping right, swiping left. Like It's just so, yeah. It's almost like disposable. Once you have it, okay, next. What else can I consume? What else can I consume?
However, I did love disposable cameras. You were in control, and you know when you got to your last 4 or 5, you were like, these have to be important moments.
Right. Every picture had to count. Like you're not gonna, yeah. Well, it's why life is worth living, because we only get a certain number of days. If we lived forever, what's the value in your day? It's supply and demand. It's
totally
small supply and big demand. So each day is important. And you're choosing to spend your hour listening to us at Himeros Live. Thank you.
They like us.
Hey, I have some audience questions that I can play. / comments. So we're diving into the voicemails today. And if you guys have any voicemails to give us, then call us at 612-470-5729, 612-470-5729. And they don't have to be questions. A lot of these are just comments. All right, let me play the first one.
Hi, this is John. I don't have a question. I just wanted to say how much I appreciate your show and to thank you for it. That it's a wonderful resource for gay people. Thank you.
See, was it a question? How lovely is that?
Thanks, John.
Yeah. It's nice to see like comments from people, but doesn't it add so much more when you hear someone's voice?
Totally. I love it.
Yeah. Call us. Tell us what you think.
Yeah. I feel connected.
And yeah. And all right, here's the next one.
Hey there. This is Dee from California. I was just listening to one of your shows, and at the end of the show, you and your friends there were talking about what you're supposed to feel at sex, and if it's just supposed to be joy, it's supposed to be everything. You should be able to laugh in the middle of sex, yell, scream, and grunt. All those emotions that go within and without it. It's getting in touch with who we are, especially like your friend was saying when he was in a terrible moment and he just needed to have sex to get that aggression and emotion that you don't want to give out, but they gave to each other in a very kind of butch way. That makes sense? Have a great day, guys. I love to hear the show. Take care.
Yes, I think his point was I probably had said like something about, I mean, the vision of Himeros.tv is to connect gay men gay and bisexual men with the intersection of sex and joy, because I feel like we have so much shame and so much guilt. So it's like, it's in the vision of what we do. And it's like, oh yeah, joyful sex. But I think he brings up a very valid point, which is sex isn't just joy. Like it can be, but it's the full range of, I mean, I watched this video and cried, like, you know, and that was, you know, that's just what it, yeah. I don't know. I'll stop.
You're on it, brother. I think you're on the pulse.
On the pulse?
Yes, it is. It's like an embodied experience. I mean, if it didn't live in a shame box for our whole lives, we would be able to access it more easily without the use of this like image in our minds. And it would be like a feeling in a body moving, you know, so the work we're doing to unpack all that, it's like helping us feel that, you know, like you can feel this tear coming up in you watching those men because of the work that you've been doing in yourself.
Look at your dog.
Yeah, there's a wolf in your mirror.
I know. Yeah. Speaking of sex.
What is their name?
My sexy dog, Shiloh. Shiloh?
Shiloh?
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Shiloh.
Can you see her still? Oh,
I can still see her.
she like paces around outside my office, and like I have to let her in, and she just sits here while I do sessions with people.
She's stunning. You made like a beautiful point, and then she was just like, neck.
It was, yeah, it was like how like a wolf like howls at the moon. She's just like emerged in your mirror.
I was like, Finn's got a familiar. This is dope.
So we also have a long voicemail. I'll play like maybe the first 30 seconds of it.
Are we getting yelled at?
What?
Are we getting yelled at on this voicemail?
No. Oh. It's specifically about a book that Finn had recommended that I read that I'm almost done with. I'll play the first part of it.
Hi there, warm aloha from Hawaii. My name is David, and I don't know if I really have a question for the podcast, but I just was so happy to hear you guys talking about the Overstory. That's a book that's been getting me through these strange times right now, and I just finished it, and my mind is kind of reeling. I think that it has such a profound message for us all that, you know, if us as individuals are individual trees, then us together can be whole forests and truly have an impact and an effect on not only the space directly around us, but whole continents and whole planets. When I started reading the book, it was a recommendation from a friend. I'm an arborist. I run a queer-operated and owned landscaping and tree service company here on Oahu called the Bare-Chested Arborist. And a friend of a friend said, "Oh, you're an arborist. You must have read this book," but I hadn't, and I got it on a whim, and I'm so happy that I did. I took.
So it's a long message. Which is great. Yeah. So the book is the Overstory. I'm in the final section of the book. And it does feel really timely and there definitely are some messages there. Really beautiful story.
Did y'all Google David?
No.
Chad.
Show us.
Google David.
The bare-chested arborist?
Oh, wait, let me see.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, call us back again.
Oh, wow. Yeah. He actually did leave his contact information.
Oh my God.
That's funny. Yeah.
Also, by the way, in case you wanted to know, Himeros is the god of sexual desire and one of the winged gods of love. He's depicted as a winged youth or child. He often appears along Eros in scenes of Aphrodite's birth. Aww. A winged child.
It could be a new logo for us.
I'm gonna look at. I need that. The bare-chested arborist. I'd like to.
And that would make his entire experience if he just gets followed by all of us.
Oh. What's his Instagram?
The bare-chested arborist. All right, we'll do it on 3. There's an underscore between bare-chested and arborist. One.
Bear. Wait. I'm not there yet. Bear.
Also, really, I just want to like put like a prompt out there, but for like listeners around the discussion around how race is showing up in individual listeners' lives and how they're encountering these dynamics, to look at our assumptions about power and where that lives, and how that, people's experiences growing up of where they encounter the word racism and what they thought about that, and who did that really pertain to.
But first, let's follow the bare-chested arborist.
Oh my God, yes.
You ready? 1, 2, 3.
He's already following me, guys, by the way. So
What?
This is your shit, Davey. You like kind of own it.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Of course he's following you.
Okay. Now we can go back to race.
He's not my friend yet, but I want. What's the at sign thing? What is it?
What is it?
Yeah, what is his was the handle?
Username? It's called username.
Okay.
Oh, it is the bare-chested arborist. We've just given this man so much business.
Is it? It's just bare-chested arborist. Not bare-chested.
Okay, correct. Yeah.
And bear is BARE. I was thinking it was going to be BEAR.
He's that too.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's lots of pictures of trees, but also of him.
Got followed.
Yeah. Oh, did you see this picture?
I've seen them all. Oh.
Look at the cookies he makes. Oh my God.
I didn't.
Is this man single? Okay. Yes, but Finn, you were saying.
Well, I just actually want to put like this, like a prompt, for listeners around. I definitely have been hearing a lot of my friends having questions around like where to start, and just looking into my own childhood around assumptions of power and where they live. And I don't think people are going to be able to unravel their own issues and experiences around race until they can look at their associations around power. And I think that, our childhoods really contain that data. And I mean, just one of the concepts that really has risen for me in reading Robin's book too is this idea of race. I heard about it a lot as like racism, but it was always about other people's, problems. It wasn't like about me or anything. It was like, oh yeah, racism is a thing out there that people do, but that's such a rudimentary, mistaken concept. And so, in looking at it, just dawned on me around like, I can't escape the system that I've been raised in that has also socialized me as a man or as a gay guy, and all the things that we talk about all the time around how we've been affected as gay men, and what it was like to grow up in relationship to others, and like that power inequity and how that affected us as gay men. So I could see that as like a parallel to help me into this window around like, oh, that's something that I never really understood before, because I'm in a position to not be able to see that.
Well, Leo Rising connected me with this really great psychic on Instagram, and
which one?
The Cosmic Evolution.
Oh, yes, I think it's Revolution.
Revolution, and she was talking about the reading that I saw. She was talking about being a vessel that that this is a time for all of us to receive, to listen, to take in, and I think what I see in a lot of my white friends is that it's very difficult for people to admit that like there could be a better way for them to move forward, or to really take it in and listen and be like, oh, okay, I need to do that differently. Or maybe what they're saying really has a point, that a lot of people's reaction is very defensive. I have a cousin, and her husband is a police officer, and she wrote a really long post on Facebook today about how much courage her husband has, and how she's so sick of seeing all these posts on Facebook about defunding the police and like what a good man he is. And I could feel the emotion that she was writing in this, and to put myself in her shoes, be like, oh, okay, she's seeing all these messages, but she's not listening to maybe what they're saying. She's kind of just reacting to it. And she lives in the South, and all of her friends were like replying with like blue hearts and like I pray for the cops. And it was just, so I found myself writing a comment, and I was like, well, how can I engage with this in a way that maybe, like, she loves me, my cousin loves me, and she's going to listen to me more than she's going to listen to a random person. And so I recognized the feelings that she was having, and I told her how much I love her and her family. And I said that, yes, it does take a lot of courage to do what your husband does, but it also takes courage to speak out when there are injustices. And I think a lot of what people are saying is they don't see cops exercising that in the way that needs to be done. And so, sure, there are some bad cops doing horrible things. There's maybe a small handful of good cops that speak out, but there's a lot of silent cops. And I think that's what we can do differently. And I phrased it in a way that was very gentle. And then I told her how much I love her. And I was like, I hope she can receive this more than I was just understanding where she was coming from. But people are very defensive, and I think it's hard to just kind of open up and receive what people are saying, but it's an important thing for us to do right now.
I think defense, I think just psychologically, we have defense by default. It's part of the evolution of our minds that we have to work
Put armor on
to condition out of. Yeah, we have to work out of it by choice.
I'm not going to talk about white fragility and their defenses today. Because I have had a life of a lot of my life is aligned quite closely to fragile white people who go through that process of feeling their defense is challenged, and it right now, people like you and how you took the time with your cousin and how Finn may take the time with people in his life are important. And it's better that conversation happens there, because they don't hear the subject of trauma that actually kind of outweighs them. They don't hear it. And they view that's when the tone policing comes in. Especially because I'm someone who grew up with people that were on the job. So actual officers, was engaged to an actual officer. You don't get through to them easily because their own team will turn on them and leave them to die. So it's a very different, there's a lot of tactic in communicating. A lot of Black officers are now starting to have to deal with that, because it's like you have to decide which conditioning are you going to keep. Are you going to keep your empathy, your compassion, if you believe in God, the thing that takes you to heaven or whatever, or you're going to be a robot? So I bless her for having you in your life. That was good. Good job.
Well, it wasn't what my fingers initially started typing. I'll tell you that.
Like, and you know what? You can also just cuss them out.
Yeah, I was like, my mom's going to call me anyway about this, because I know my mom's going to see it, and she's going to say, David, stop stirring the pot.
That's not her dialect.
I spilled the pot.
The pot stirred.
I love your mother's dialect.
Yes, she's special.
Have you heard her accent?
Finn's had dinner at their house.
I love her accent. It's so cute.
Oh my God, that's not what it sounds like.
That's just what your mom sounds like.
She's sweet.
Yeah. David. All right, so next week we are going to be discussing some of our parts. A play on words. That's the video. Some S-U-M. Yeah. Some of our parts and some of our parts.
It's an allusion to a spreadsheet.
Is it really?
I mean, some of our parts are like the sum feature on Excel. It's like the only thing I can do on Excel is make a sum.
Add that shit up. Finn, where can people get more of you?
FinnDeerhart.com, FINNDEERHART.com.
And Leo Rising, where can people get more of you?
Y'all better come through to the Instagram, because it's on and popping. It's where we're at. We get this.
You are prolific. Prolific.
Thank you. I Googled that word last week. I'm kidding.
Did I also call you prolific last week?
I think you did, honey.
Okay, well, I'm consistent.
Leo Rising Yoga. I'll see y'all.
And remember, you can join Himeros.tv with 2 years for the price of one at Himeros.tv/celebrate. Thanks so much for listening. And as always, more to come.